Welcome, friends of the channel. It is a fine day on planet Earth. The sun is shining, I've been made redundant, and I'm in a 991 GT3 RS. Now, I genuinely have been made redundant, but we will not be dwelling on it because surely the perfect tonic to being handed your P45 is a road trip. So with that in mind, let's get on with it. So how have we got here, and why am I in this absolute stunner of a paint sample 991 GT3 RS? Well, a good few weeks ago now, I was invited to a weekend festival, really, of GT3, celebrating 25 years of the legendary 911 GT3. And this is a weekend around Lake Garda with the guys at GT Mania. I mentioned it on the podcast on 9wax Radio, and that's when a very kind chap called Matt from the Driven Not Hidden Collective got in contact. So Matt was interested in attending this weekend celebration, but on checking the diary realised he couldn't go. Unbelievably, Matt's second thought, therefore, was to offer his car to me to take it around Europe. An unbelievable act of kindness, something that I am still processing, if I'm honest. I shouldn't be sitting here, I shouldn't be in this car, is kind of how I feel. I spoke to Matt and said, are you sure? Because I wouldn't be letting somebody I'd never met before go on a jolly round Europe in my car, let alone a GT3 RS. But Matt, to his absolute credit, and very much in the spirit of the Driven Not Hidden Collective, came back and said, no, absolutely, you go for it. So, in a series of events that concludes with me being one of the luckiest so-and-sos on the planet, here we are. I'm en route to Lake Garda for a weekend of GT3 Rennsporting. Any case, while the logistics for this weekend were being put in place, I received a phone call informing me that Total 911 magazine, the world's only magazine dedicated to the Porsche 911, of which I am the editor, is closing, which is no other word for it, is a great shame for me, kind of both professionally and personally. I've been editor of Total 911 magazine for 12 years, it's a third of my life, and while I understand that nothing lasts forever, and certainly the setup of that magazine as it is, it's never going to be sustainable as a business case. There we go. I mean, I can't deny that overall in life I feel very luckily and privileged. I'm in a very privileged environment right now, but you know, I'd be lying if I said it hasn't been a challenging time the last few weeks, kind of getting my head around it. It also transpires that on the way back from this weekend celebrating 25 years of GT3 is also deadline day for the final ever issue of Total 911 magazine. So look, as far as I'm concerned, this road trip couldn't have come at a better time, both in terms of the trip itself and the car I'm in. This is going to be a fascinating road trip, physically and possibly emotionally, exploring the virtues of the brilliant 991 GT3 RS. And we're going to be signing off from Total 911 magazine as well. So a memorable weekend. Is an absolute pleasure to be bringing you along for the ride, courtesy of the utter kindness of Matt from the Driven Not Hidden Collective. Let's roll.
My journey to Italy actually began very early the day before, heading over to Folkestone and boarding the car train which would take the RS and I from the UK into mainland Europe. My first port of call was Abbeville Circuit in the north of France to meet with my friends Johan and Maxi and compile a head-to-head track test of these beauties. You'll see more of these on my channel another time. The next day, I began the big drive through France, stopping at the old Reims grandstand for the obligatory I'm a car enthusiast on holiday photo, before beginning my assault on the French péage network, which, thanks to Matt's automatic toll chip, meant the toll booths, built for left-hand drive cars, were no issue for this one-man wanderer in a right-hand drive vehicle.
Whoa. I'm going to keep hold of that cup. I think I'm going to need it when I get back to the UK for my panhandling. Some big cup as well. I could get loads of money in it.
The monotony of France's toll roads proved too much, with only one other Porsche sighting so far, this lovely speed yellow C4S from the UK. So I turned off to tackle one of my favourite cross-country stretches, the aptly named D996, grabbing a picture where, exactly 1 year previously, my own 996, aka Little Irish, famously broke down during a Nineworks road trip. Sailing past Dijon, I hit the Swiss border by nightfall, the next day offering the sort of breathtaking topography this beautiful country is known for. Those aren't clouds in the distance, they're mountains. I'm not really sure what happened next, but inspired my surroundings and with a chopping board in tow, I decided to emulate pretty much any celebrity chef with some alfresco food prep while on my travels.
So one of my favourite parts of road trips, apart from the sights, the sounds and the smells that you encounter along the way, is trying the local cuisine. And here in Switzerland, I've got my hands on a local delicacy that I want to share with you, along with some tips on how to make it even better. So what do you need to do to prepare this local dish? Well, you need your chopping board, which we've got here. And then you take out the toblerone. Now, at this point, you take it out, pop it on the chopping board. What I do want to say is a quick tip as well, okay? Before you get to this point, it's best to just keep it in the fridge for about 24 hours, exacerbate the crunch, give it more texture. So leave it in the fridge for 24 hours, then pop it out. And then what you do is you take it out of the packaging. And as you can see, I've tried this before we've gone on air, just to make sure I know what I'm doing. Okay, so you pop it down on the chopping board, and then all you do is you dice it up, okay? And then, from there, you just scull it. Voila, voila. Right, that's enough of that, let's get on the road.
With my finest James Martin impression in the bag, I pressed on to the first of many ribbon-like roads we'll see on this trip, this one being the St Bernard Pass. All I'll say is, I'm glad this one was first.
So we are on the not so great St Bernard Pass. You can see the car in the background and a little bit of the road as well. So I've just gone up and down it, and yeah, just not anywhere near as good as I expected it to be honest with you. I thought it was named the St Bernard Pass after the dog, which is hairy as you like, but actually with a 50-kilometre speed limit in bone dry, perfect conditions like today, the road is about as eventful as a St Bernard taking a nap, actually. But I figured now would be a good time to show you around Matt's car, because it is a phenomenal machine. I spent 3 days with it now, so let's go and show you around it. First things first, we need to talk about the colour, because I'm sure you've got this far into the video and you're dying to know what it is. So the answer, friends of the channel, is PTS, paint to sample, Riviera Blue. And it looks incredible. Really, really good. It reminds me of a 997 GT3 press car that Porsche GB had finished in Riviera. It's a fantastic colour. Looks great on the 991. It's a bigger car, but again, the RS has enough devices all over it to break it up, like the ducts over the front wheels, for example, the side air intake, the end plates as well on the rear wing. So yeah, there's like enough to just break that colour up. In terms of wheel colour, I'm afraid I don't know what that is, but you'll know because there's a lot of knowledge among the viewers of this channel, so I'm sure someone can pop in the comments as to what it is. So it's a 991.1 2016 GT3 RS. Oh, here we go. Some 911 action. How you doing? You all right?
Oh, mate, I know you.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was a lovely couple over from New Zealand that have bought a UK car, and are doing a tour, so that was amazing. So look, back to the car in question. So 991.1 GT3 RS, it's a 2016 car. It's a 4 litre. It revs to 8,800 RPM. A couple of tweaks to it, I guess, really. Aside from the fact that Matt is repping, it was not myself that put those on, and I'm very grateful of that. So yeah, Matt or previous owner, I'm not quite sure now who's done it, made a couple of tweaks to what is otherwise an incredible car right out the box. We've got JCR silencer delete, basically. Inside, it's got, first and foremost, the seats. It's got my favourite seats in the folding buckets. When you're touring like now, the idea to just pull this back and put some stuff behind the seats nice and easy, completely underestimated how awesome that privilege is. So fantastic seats, super comfortable, easy enough to hop in and out of within the context of them being buckets. So they are my favourite seats. So we're already off to a big winner indoors with those seats. Matt has also installed like an aftermarket Apple CarPlay, which is fantastic. So it means you can have Waze and Spotify and everything else on the go, which you couldn't otherwise get in the 991.1, so that is fantastic. Allied to that, again, boosting practicality, we've got a reversing camera nestled in there. So again, that's awesome because you can't see too much out the back window. Someone's also put this like RS 4 litre-esque Porsche motorsport script along the back. So look, some really nice touches, but I think what is most impressive about this car, and it's probably half the reason I've got it, is look at the mileage on it. We're in kilometres at the moment, 52,000 kilometres. So in miles, that's about 30,000, which is a lot for an RS. And to be honest, that's exactly why Matt wanted to buy this car, because the previous owner stacked a load of miles on it, lots of road trips, lots of track days. It's definitely used as intended. And it kind of means Matt has got a load of guilt-free motoring ahead of him. So the car is definitely driven, not hidden, and again feeds into exactly what we're all about at Nineworks. Drive these cars as intended. We're here for a good time, not a long time, folks. So that is the 991.1 GT3 RS in paint sample Riviera blue, making memories not just for its owner, but for lucky so-and-sos like myself that also get to drive it. What we will do now is head on for the GT3 event down in Brescia and leave behind the not so great St Bernard Pass.
And so to Italy and Brescia and the GT Mania weekend.
So I've arrived at the GT Mania event, and as you can imagine, obviously that's the car I've come in. But there's GT3s everywhere, and I'm going to show you around this because I think underneath that is voodoo blue, but it's got all sorts going on, so we'll show you, and then just do a quick walk around and see what other GT metal is here. So I should point out we're at the Mille Museum. There's some sort of party going on over there. Some people are in the museum. But yeah, check this out. I absolutely love it, I've got to say. Very cool. Again, I'm fairly certain that's voodoo, I think. But I mean, there's clearly loads of like CXX options all over it, including the carbon inserts there. Check it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it when people just go a little bit left field and do something different. So there's a decent spread here, it has to be said. Not just of generations, but types of GT products. Obviously touring, 992 and 991. GT3s here, winged. 992 RS, this is cool because it's done out to look like the 992 GT3 Rennsport that was announced at Rennsport Reunion last year. 997, 996s, oh look at that, what an awesome pairing. Just goes on and on and on, and it's all GT product. Another Larry wrap on that. GT2 RS as well, so turbocharged Rennsport, that looks mad. Loving like the faded JPS John Player. Oh yes, obviously we did a video on one of these recently, looking at the 997.2 GT3 RS. That's a real favourite of mine. So yeah, there we go. That's the spread, ladies and gents. Let's go check out the museum. What you won't get on the video is the smell of this place. The rich, lovely smell of old cars. Oil and grease and petrol. Ah, oh, it smells lovely. Look at that for art. I'm going to be controversial here and say that is the only Porsche Speedster for me. Not interested in any 911. I don't actually rate 911 Speedsters, but a 356. Now that is motoring and that is Porsching.
Museum done, it was time to join the party with other attendees of the GT Mania weekend.
Morning, so it's the start of the first full day, start of day 2 though really, at the GT Mania weekender event. I'm here at Porsche Experience Centre Franciacorta, which I'm sure I'm butchering pronunciation wise. I'm trying to get around every Porsche centre possible on planet Earth really. Porsche keeps making more of them, which makes the task more difficult, but this is like pretty much box fresh. It's only a year or two old, so I'm looking forward to diving in and seeing just what's indoors and then grabbing a coffee.
Indoors was beyond impressive. This newest PEC also being by far the best yet, thanks to its scale, grandeur, the level of cars on display in the lobby, including this bare carbon GT1, not to mention the superb track outside, which is where we're headed to next.
Okay, so it is track time. That means with the seats we're deploying for the first time on this trip the proper harnesses. So got that block in there for the seat belt. Whip these over, showing ever more the dexterity of this car, although I am absolutely going to need to loosen these up. Right, in, off, PDK Sport. Let's head out. I've already adjusted, well, I've asked somebody else to adjust the tyre pressures. Let's see how we get on at Porsche Experience Centre Franciacorta.
GT Mania's exclusive day at the centre involved 2 track sessions, the first of which I spent getting to know the track and the GT3 RS. In its home environment, the GT3 RS wasted little time in underlining its Rennsport credentials. What had so far been a tenacious tourer was now a fully tilted cup car with scalpel-like precision on turn-in, razor-sharp throttle response out the other end, and thumping Rennsport motor delivering a spine-tingling drive as we caught up with an identical 991.1 RS, albeit finished in stunning Viper green. A few laps of exciting nip and tuck ensued, although I was very aware this was not my car, hence my pulling back in the corners to allow both drivers plenty of space. GoPro picked up in the car, but oh my god, that thing is incredible. Might have a bit of noise. What do you think that is? GT3 RS 991.2. But this thing, I've driven 1,000 miles to be here, around Europe, some of the best passes, with my luggage in. I've been listening to podcasts. It's comfortable, it's practical with the lift kit, the reversing camera as well. Like, manoeuvring this in the city has not been a problem at all. And yet, when I then tip up to here, it's arena. It's the arena for which it was made. It just absolutely excels. I'm blown away by how much more of an all-rounder that car is than I'd realised. First of all, check the hair out. So look, now, after we've done our warm-up in our own cars on circuit at the PEC Franciacorta, the team here are now letting us unleash the proper machinery to really test our mettle. Oh yes. Right. I love the red and green pedals, as if you're not sure. There's the CARES button on here. Must be having you. So Arpad and I have just noticed all the liveries on these carts. We've got Pink Pig. Yeah. We've got the Porsche Intelligent Performance that the RSRs from a couple of years ago had. Salzburg livery on that one. What is that one? That is like the Wallace Jeans evocation. And then I think it kind of repeats down the line. But how cool is that? Properly well thought of and very good fun. After browsing the exclusive shop for a personalised door sill guard, we were moved on to the low friction surface for a few minutes of sideways fun before lunch.
Yeah, buddy. For the afternoon for like the second session on track, but before we do, I just want to do like a quick pit walk up and down here, because again, this is an experience centre, don't forget, but it is by far the most accomplished that I've been to. There are 10 Porsche experience centres worldwide. The first was Silverstone in the UK, which I have to be honest, compared to this, it's looking pretty tired and dated now. Hopefully a new project on the way maybe, but so there are around 10 in 10 experience centres on the planet. I've been to at least half of them, and this is by far the most impressive in terms of facilities. And again, I'll just show you, okay, what we've got. Okay, so, just inside one of the garages, a load of pork waiting to go. Cars that are all branded up, so evidently these are the cars that go out on track, should you wish to partake. Just have a look at some of these cars, because it's the same all the way up. And then have a look at this, right? Have a look at this. For equipment, got poster wrap, tyre fitting equipment as well. Again, I mean, this track is massive, it's about 2.5 kilometres long, 12 turns, I believe, much bigger than, again, just unfairly comparing it to Porsche Experience Centre Silverstone, but again, proper job, proper equipment for an amazing track. But this is your Experience Centre here in Italy, and the locals have definitely got it good.
Pit walk done, it was time for the afternoon session on track where, using the RS's Sport Chrono feature, my intention was simply to set a personal best lap time clear of traffic. Here's my best effort, although there are still plenty of mistakes. So be kind. It'd be easy after all for me to just show you all the hero stuff. time of 1 minute 21 won't set any records, but it did top off a scintillating day in this brilliant RS, which had flourished to deliver the sort of performance only a Rennsport can deliver. The day, though, wasn't about lap times, but a shared experience with like-minded enthusiasts who had travelled from all over Europe to celebrate these remarkable Weissach machines, which, for the last 25 years, have continued to deliver the most scintillating modern driving experiences us enthusiasts could hope to discover. Are these the glory days of the sports car? I can't deny such a thought was left ringing in my ears as I left the PEC Franciacorta. Thankfully though, I'd get plenty more time to decide if that statement was true. Day 3 of GT Mania's weekend was all about road driving, taking in some delightful towns around the lakes, as well as the roads which connect them. Great stops along the way at stellar locations help contribute to a carnival-like atmosphere, building up to an amazing send-off party in an Italian castle to complete the GT Mania tour. Great time had. Next day, it was time to head north. Everyone, so the GT Mania trip is done. What a fantastic trip. I have laughed a lot over the last 48 hours and a really incredible experience. I've met so many fantastic people, hilarious, fantastic stories to tell, a really lovely, warm approach to life. I have absolutely loved it. I actually left Brescia, where our GT Mania hotel was, around 3 hours ago. I'm actually in Switzerland now, on the cusp of all the great roads. Now, though, I need to get home, and I realise I've over-egged the omelette somewhat because I need to get back to the UK. I also need to send the last issue of Total 911 magazine. Basically, where I've been having so much fun on the GT Mania trip, I haven't been able to get the job done. So I want to give it the diligence it deserves, considering it's the last issue of the magazine. So I've just been on here with Le Shuttle, the Eurotunnel, to the Everyman and Woman, to adjust my ticket, because I booked a Flexi Plus, so you can change the day. So I've put it back by around 15 hours, just to give me one more day in order to get the magazine done, enjoy the roads that I'm about to go on, and send the magazine. I can put this laptop away in the front, get settled in, hit up these amazing roads that I'm on the cusp of, Gotthard, Grimsel, Furka and Susten passes today, get to the hotel early doors, do the last little bits of the magazine, and then head back to the UK at my leisure. Cool, amazing, amazing, amazing. Let's get driving. I think while we're on the way to the Nunefen Pass, it's worth just touching on the history of the 991.1 RS, because this was a real step change and a game changer really in the 911 Rennsport story. It was nearly 10 years ago now, in 2015, when Porsche revealed the 991.1 RS. It was a completely new car over its predecessor in the 997 GT3 RS 3.8 litre. Actually, it was the first kind of ground up new Rennsport since the 996 RS of 10 years before that. What did that entail? Well, for starters, the manual gearbox was gone. Your only choice was, well, there wasn't a choice, was there? It was the 7-speed PDK. That was de facto. We had got used to that being the case at this point, because the GT3, on which this car is based, that was also PDK only for the 991 generation, which I've covered on previous videos on the channel. So the manual gearbox was gone, so too was the Metzger engine, that iconic engine that's absolutely revered by Porsche enthusiasts worldwide, and rightly so. A reputation for being bulletproof. It also had Le Mans winning
pedigree as well, but it was expensive to make. So Porsche ditched it in favour of a DFI, direct fuel injection, flat six engine sitting in the back. Interesting fact, on the 9A1 DFI engine, there are half the parts used in comparison to that of a Metzger engine. So definitely some economics in that decision, but it was still a sensational engine, and actually has been the basis for GT3 RS engines in the 10 years since. In this form, 4 litre capacity, again we're well used to that now, aren't we, in 911 GT product, 500 horsepower, not particularly torquey, but what it did have was a red line at 8,800 RPM. Now that was rather tall and pretty unprecedented for Rennsport's 911, but it wasn't the highest RPM red line that we were used to 10 years ago, because the GT3 that it was based on, the 911.1, that did rev to 9, but, and again I've covered it elsewhere, that was an engine besieged by problems, and part of the solution that Porsche had, because this engine was reworked over that GT3 engine, and one of the solutions that Porsche had was to just reduce the red line ever so slightly to 8,800 RPM. And hopefully, as I've demonstrated on this trip already, I wouldn't necessarily say you're particularly missing the last 200 RPM. It really is a stunning soundtrack, completely different to the Metzger, which was like deep and bassy. This is more banshee, really. And yeah, it's a soundtrack that Porsche enthusiasts have come to love. Okay, so that's engine and gearbox. In terms of chassis, I mean, the RS had gone wide body years ago. However, the 991.1 RS was the first Rennsport to utilise the turbo body, which basically in 991 speak is super wide. You had narrow C4 turbo, which was 1,880mm across the rump. And it also means that Porsche can be quite clever with its use of induction for the flat six engine, and that's why the turbo-bodied side air intakes are still present on the 991, because they feed air directly into that naturally aspirated boxer engine behind me. So turbo-bodied, ultra-wide. We also had staggered wheels for the first time, not in terms of width, because that's always been the case for the 911 for pretty much 60 years now, but in terms of like diameter. So we had 20-inch on the front, 21-inch on the rear, and again, that's something that Porsche has stuck with in the decades since, although the widths of the wheel have changed. So it really was something of a new era for the GT3 RS.
I started up the famous Gotthard Pass, but this proved a red herring for 2 reasons. The first was the view at the top, or lack of.
Cool.
Which was also the exact time the RS decided it needed a drop of oil, which I hadn't prepared for halfway up a mountain on a Sunday in Switzerland. So down I went in search of flat six nectar.
Finding oil in Switzerland on a Sunday is ridiculous. I think in Switzerland they think that cars don't need oil on the 7th day of the week. So this is my 5th place, and it's a motorway services basically, and I have managed to find some 5W40, so I'm going to pop it in. According to the service manual, don't do more than half a litre at a time. The difference between the minimum and maximum markers on the GT3 and GT3 RS is 0.8 of a litre, so I shouldn't need all of this. Might need a top up before I get home, but I'm just going to put in half a litre for now and see how we go, because the reading is low. Let me show you actually. It's all part of the tribulations of running a sports car or running a GT3 RS, isn't it? So we got this, right, oil, okay, minimum reach. So let's put in half a litre and see how we get on. a quarter of a litre to begin with. I'm just going to go a teeny bit more. You can't overfill these, I'm a little bit worried. Right, let's give that a go. Next step is to get fuel measurement, so turn that nonsense off. So let's get our focus, oil measurement. What? Oh mate, what an absolute Western supermare.
It's worth pointing out, these engines do use a bit of oil under hard use, and the amount here was well within spec according to Porsche's own guidelines. I've topped these engines up plenty of times before. My issue here was I was unprepared this time round. Lesson learned. Oil level sorted, I'd hoped to finally hit a pass or two before the day ran out, but reality had other ideas thanks to a savage 2-hour traffic jam. I still needed to drive some cool roads, send the magazine to press and get home, but I had an epic plan, which began with a 5 AM alarm the next morning. At this hour, the mountainscape above had an eerie presence, awoken by the shrill howl of the JCR exhaust echoing off the vacant rock face as I climbed high up through the twisties. My plan, though, was coming together. Firmly into this automotive playground for the crack of first light, I could enjoy these majestic, ribbon-like roads all to myself. En route to my chosen destination, where I'd send the last issue of Total 911 to print and close a mighty chapter of my life. Stopping off to admire the view, the end was now literally in sight, and this Riviera blue beauty was going to take me to it. For the last time, let's get this magazine off to the printers. It's the ultimate juxtaposition, driving towards the end of your job while being surrounded by such beauty and, let's be honest, good fortune. So I can't lie, I had mixed feelings about the ensuing minutes. The RS, though, kept my thoughts firmly on the present. Andreas Preuninger once said these cars consist of 10,000 parts working harmoniously as one, and so was the case here. Its finely engineered chassis, gearbox and motor propelling me up through the Furka's hairpin bends to a glorious flat six symphony. Finally, I reached the world-famous beauty spot at the now-closed Belvedere Hotel, my chosen spot to sign off from T911. This really was it. One last feature to edit before pressing send and consigning issue 249 to the printers and T911 at large to the history books.
And that, my friends, is it. The last issue of Total 911 has gone to print, which basically means when I put this laptop down, I'm made redundant. It is emotional. It's an incredible place to send the last issue of Total 911 magazine at the top of the Furka Pass with a Riviera Blue 991.1 GT3 RS. It is the best send-off that magazine could ever have. It is emotional. I edited that magazine for 12 years, a third of my life. I am sad, there's absolutely no question about it, but I also feel incredibly lucky to have even got the opportunity as a spotty, early 20-something-year-old. So to be given that opportunity is unbelievable. The people I've met, the cars I've driven, the opportunities I've had will stay with me way beyond the next 12 years, for the rest of my life. I know I've been an incredibly lucky bloke. I just hope the luck continues onwards and upwards, hopefully, into the next chapter.
The big question is, now freshly unemployed, what did I do next? Well, I simply did what anyone with the keys to a 991 RS on the Furka Pass would do. I went for a drive. Time then to assess the merits of the 991.1 GT3 RS.
It's a little bit slippy under tyre now, so I think now's probably the perfect time to just knock it back a little bit and talk to you about my thoughts on the 991.1 GT3 RS. As I mentioned earlier in the video, a step change, a real game changer for the 911 Rennsport story. But you know what? I think Porsche got it right. I really did. Under the proliferation of the 911 lineup, I mean, there are so many models now, there needs to be something sitting at the top that really is a race car, albeit for the public road. And it has to be the GT3 RS, the car on which the RSRs were based on. A race car is all about lap times, it's about being quick. That's both in terms of how the engine and transmission put the power down on the floor, but also how the body allows the car to slip through the air as efficiently as possible. And in order to do all that, you need clever aerodynamics, step forward, the big wing on the back, the louvers in the front wheel arches that were new first for the 911 Rennsport. But it's also why the car needed to go PDK, because us humans, we are simply not as quick as PDK, as technology, unfortunately. Especially as, and I've said this for a while now, the 4-litre Motorsport DFI engine suits PDK because the way it spins up is so relentless. Even the best driver in the world is going to struggle to keep up with it, really, on the up and the down shifts. So PDK is emphatically the answer, particularly when you're chasing lap times, or indeed other people. And yes, what PDK gives the GT3 RS in terms of lap times, it does take away slightly from the engagement as a road car. But again, this is a race car that happens to be road legal. The GT3, on the other hand, as a step down, is a road car that you can take to the track. The RS is a race car that you can put on the road. But here's the thing, I don't feel like my trip across Europe, going to be 3,000 miles when I get home, has been compromised in any way by taking a GT3 RS. My belongings, and there are a lot of them, including all my camera gear, fits neatly in the front. There's also additional room behind the seats, which I can easily access to thanks to the folding buckets. The ride, although firm, has never had my back in pieces, to be honest. And the noise delivers a stunning flat six symphony when I want it, but when I'm off the gas, it cruises fine. It's not deafened me at all. And yet what I like is, because it's a Rennsport and there's a load of weight stripped out, and in this case it means sound deadening inside here, I can hear the brakes when they're clamping together to scrub speed from the car. I can hear the rattle of the gearbox. I can literally hear the induction system gasping for breath when I put my foot down. So I am getting high on the visceral experience this car delivers over and over and over again. It doesn't really feel like there's any major drawbacks. The lift kit has been essential. I've used that often. The JCR exhaust, again, I'm super impressed with that. I'm a Sharkworks man, really, because A, I rate their products so much. I've had fantastic exposure to the products for a number of years. But actually, this JCR system, it is really good. Again, not overbearing when I want a quieter moment. And then when I want the noise, there it is. Likewise with the CarPlay, the Gen 1 didn't get CarPlay from factory, so it is a retrofit upgrade, but it's so worthwhile. It allows me to listen to music when I don't want to listen to a 4-litre flat six, which hasn't been often. It's given me Waze, which has been handy for traffic and other things. And yes, Porsche did improve this platform handsomely, in fact, for the 991.2. It does ride better on the road, and that is a direct result of the deployment of helper springs, by the way. And again, that's followed over into the 992 GT3 RS as well, which again rides sublimely on the road. So the 991.2 improved. The damping, definitely, it is a smoother ride, so it will therefore be an even better ally for these sorts of trips, and it has CarPlay as standard. The 992 GT3 RS moved the game on again in a number of ways, but chiefly what I've seen this trip is at the nose. It's so darty, and again it's chiefly due to the fact that that has a double wishbone front suspension and this doesn't. The way it pivots is outrageous, actually. This is still incredible, and actually it's really fluid on the steering. The steering's one of my favourite things on this car. The 991.1 GT3 RS is the cheapest RS you can buy of any 911 Rennsport throughout the entire 50 years of the model. The 997 GT3 RS is close by, but again, going forward, I've said this in a recent video, I think the future's looking very rosy for those cars because there aren't many of them. There are loads of these, around 4,500, so you can afford to be choosy with your spec and condition if you want one. So yeah, lots made, but also it was the first PDK only RS, and then obviously subsequent Rennsports have improved technically since. So this is why this car is sitting where it is. What it does mean is this is a phenomenally good value GT3 RS. Like, honestly, outrageous value for money. At just into six figures, you get the keys to a 911 Rennsport legend, the most iconic 911 ever made. A car with the now legendary and revered 4-litre flat six, revving onto the cusp of £9,000. It's just the most incredible machine, and as I said, it's actually far more dexterous than I'd ever given it credit for. This, then, is an unbelievable Porsche 911, and I absolutely love it.
A 991 GT3 RS is an uncompromising, high-revving race car with license plates, and yet over the 3,000 miles of this most epic trip across road, track, daylight, darkness, wet and dry, there was not a single second where I'd rather have been in any other car. Even this most performance-oriented 911 of its generation revealed itself to have many layers, all exquisitely crafted into what I believe is the most beautiful 911 platform in the 991, lavished with exactly the right mix of modernity and tradition. This was an unforgettable trip, made thanks to the prowess, precision and performance of the Gen 1 991 GT3 RS. But before I complete the last 500 miles home, one last thing.
I need to keep this conclusion quick because it's chucking it down and the lens is getting wet, but I just want to say that cars deliver significant moments, whether you like cars or not. The chances are your first journey from hospital when you were born was in a car, and very likely the last journey you'll ever make on planet Earth is also in a vehicle. But for sports car enthusiasts, these things mean so much more. They deliver memorable moments, and the 2,500 mile journey that I've been on in the last week has certainly been one of those. I just want to wrap this up by saying a monumental thank you to Matt from the Driven Not Hidden Collective for the kindness and outrageous generosity in lending me this car to go around Europe. The first time I met Matt was collecting this very car. So a big thanks to Matt. I hope you'll have many more happy miles at the wheel of this thing as the current custodian as I have this week. Thank you to Matt. Thank you to you at home for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you too can create some memorable moments wherever you are in the world in these special cars, be it a 991 RS or otherwise. Cheers for watching. We'll see you soon.